This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Welcome to the Easthampton City Council meeting for Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. The meeting tonight is being recorded and broadcast by eMedia on Charter Channel 193 and live streaming on their webpage, easthamptonmedia.org. Councilors and participants in this meeting are gathering hybrid on the order extended until June 30th, 2027, allowing us to do so. I remind both the members of the City Council and the public participating remotely to remain muted until recognized by the City Council President. Also, for the members of the public, please remove your camera for the duration of the meeting unless you are participating in the public speak time or public hearing. Thank you. This meeting is now called to order. Mary Ann.
J.P. Kwasinski.
Here.
Connie Denham.
Here.
Tamara Smith.
Here.
Felicia Jadzak.
Here.
Tom Peak.
Here.
Jonathan Schmidt.
Here.
Amanda Newton.
Here.
Kayam Jamrong McQuaid.
Here.
Nathan Marquis.
Here.
Great, thank you, Mary Ann. Now we're gonna have a moment of silence, but I just want to acknowledge that Monday was Dr. King, the celebration for Dr. King. And I've just been reflecting a lot over the last week and the things that have happened in the community and across the nation. And I was reminded of a quote of his, and he said, it's not the words of our enemies that will be remembered, but is the silence of our friends. And so I've just been reflecting a lot on that. And so I hope you take this time to think about those things that are important to you or that you need in order to be able to center for this meeting. Thank you. If you would like to participate in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance, now is your opportunity to do so.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a couple of minutes that we need to address, so I will take a motion to pass minutes for January 2nd, 2026, the reorganizational meeting, and January 7th, 2026, which was a regular meeting.
I'll move to approve both.
I'll second. Great, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstention? Great, motion passes. Great. Public comment. So now is your opportunity to come to the podium and address council on any items that are not on the agenda. It's important to remember that during this time, council is not allowed to speak or respond to that, anything that you say, because it is not an item that is on our agenda, and we would be violating open meeting law if we were to address that. You do have 3 minutes, and so anyone who would like to speak to or address council, please go to the podium, provide your name and your address. Oh, and one last thing. We're trying a new system here, so when you have 30 seconds left, you'll hear a ding, and then when your time is up, you'll hear a second ding. And so at the second ding, please wrap up your comments.
Okay. I'm Sherry Braun from 61 North Street in Granby. My husband, Charles Brown, and I were here in Easthampton on October 11th. We had dinner at Nini's, and we crossed the street at the traffic light up at that end to go to the convenience store. We started walking down the street on that side. Before we got to Maple Avenue, we could see that there were no crosswalks there. So we chose the crosswalk that goes across Cottage Street. A car went past. We stepped in, off the curb. A car went past. We waited for that, obviously. The next car that was coming down was a fair distance away, and it looked like he was slowing down. So we stepped out into the street, and when we got about to the middle of the lane, we were hit by the car. We both went up over the hood. I hit my head on the windshield, so anything I'm telling you about the next few minutes is what's been told to me. My husband came down, landed on one knee and his foot. I had a head injury and was kind of knocked out for a while. A woman from one of the shops right near that area came running out when she heard the noise, I guess, and she began doing triage. She was formerly an EMT. Between my husband and her, they got me over to the side of the road, and very shortly thereafter, the EMTs arrived and started doing the triage. Was that 30 seconds? No. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right. The driver pulled over to the Maple Street thing. He did not try to flee. Officer Briggs spoke with him and also spoke with my husband. And basically, the EMTs did a fantastic job. Whether they were professional, friendly, helpful, and I've got a collar on, and they took me to Bay State Trauma Center, where it was determined I did not have a concussion or any serious brain injury, but they did sew up the cut. Essentially, but that's a really dangerous crosswalk there. It is the only crosswalk in the area that doesn't have any kind of signage whatsoever, but it is like right in that area where all the restaurants and shops are, and it needs to be better marked. And the driver apparently says he did not see us because of the oncoming lights. If there had been even that little sign that goes in the center of the lane with a picture of a pedestrian that alerts you that this is a crosswalk, that would help. But we wanted to let you know about our experience and that there is a situation there that really needs to be addressed.
Great. Thank you very much. Anyone else in the room for public speaking? Okay. So again, please state your name and your address. And again, at the 2-minute and 30-second mark, you'll hear a buzzer. And then at the 3 minutes, you'll hear another one.
My name is Leslie Button. I live at 5 Fox Run, Easthampton, Massachusetts. I've been a resident for 10 years. So I want to thank the City Council for the opportunity to speak to you during public speak time tonight. I know that many of you are aware of what's been unfolding in Minneapolis, and this is not something that's taking place in Easthampton, but nonetheless, I think it's important to say something about it. And from what I know, ICE is now in Maine, starting to detain people from the Somali community. So I know City Council and the school committee have issued statements about this over the past summer. And the local police, who do a phenomenal job, in my opinion, cannot be forced to carry out federal civil immigration enforcement. But nonetheless, if ICE is in Maine, they came through Massachusetts, I believe, to get to where they are. And I raise this with the hope that the city government is having conversations about what could happen, what should happen should ICE come here. Obviously, this is a bigger issue than just local government. But I think all of us need to think about how to protect our community, especially children and vulnerable people who may be most at risk. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Anyone else for public speak in the room? Anyone online who would like to address council? If you could just raise your hand. Seeing nobody. We still have about 6 minutes before public hearing. I asked Director Nuttleman to give an update on Cottage Street, just given what was said this evening. This isn't City Council speaking on this, but Director Nuttleman will have the opportunity to just give a brief update on kind of what's being done by the city on Cottage Street. Director Nuttleman, are you online?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone. I'm, excuse me, Greg Nuttleman, Director of Public Works for the city. So in 2025, we were able to secure, with the help of then State Representative Dan Carey, a $100,000 appropriation from the state that came to us through the Mass DOT. And with that funding, what we want to do, I see the plan up there. We've been working on designing a project to make that specific crossing that was mentioned earlier significantly safer with an RFB and some ADA compliant ramps on each side. And we also want to try to make some repairs to the crumbling crossing closer up towards the municipal lot. So we got that funding towards the end of last fiscal year, and have been working on getting the design out. We should have that out to bid and ready for construction. You should have it under construction by the beginning of the summer of this year. So that is something that's been on our radar for a while, and something we've been working to make safer for everybody. That crossing is challenging with the line of sight from the building being right on the edge there. And it's also challenging to construct. We want to construct just given how close the building is to the edge of the sidewalk. But nevertheless, we will make that better, and we're going to do it soon. So, and it's looking like the funding we have will cover it. So it was great of Representative Carey to have gotten that for the city of Easthampton, and we're really looking forward to getting those improvements going out there.
Great. Thank you, Greg. Director Nuttleman. Because this is not an item on the agenda, I can't open it up for questions from council, but certainly it was an unfortunate incident, and we're very sorry that you had that experience, and also want to acknowledge that our DPW, our planning department are doing everything that they can to be able to address kind of pedestrian safety. And Director Nuttleman, just want to extend our gratitude to the work that you're doing, and obviously your team has been doing a lot of work here, so we appreciate you.
Thank you.
We still have a couple of minutes. Chief Norris, would you like to also share some good information from the fire department today?
Yeah, thank you and good evening, everyone. Chris Norris, Fire Chief, City of Easthampton. Two quick things. Number one, coming up this weekend, as many have heard through the weather updates, we've got kind of a 1-2 punch coming with not only a snowstorm, but cold weather. So through the mayor's office today, we communicated with the mayor's office, PD, fire, EMS, council on agent, and also public health. And we had a press release issued earlier tonight in regards to open performance centers at the public safety complex. That will be open 24/7, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So really looking for help from all of you to extend that message out there further than the press release has. Certainly the temperatures that they are predicting, no one should be outside without shelter and warmth in these predictions coming up. So please help us get that message out there. Again, at the public safety complex, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 24 hours open, obviously. So, and we'll have the accommodations needed for anyone who needs those. And then finally, we also pushed out a press release today, Deputy Chief Kevin Benson. There is a state accreditation program. It's a fire chief credentialing program through the State Fire Service Commission that's overseen by the Department of Fire Services. And this basically looks at a individual's portfolio, looking at experience, education, certifications, and community outreach and public support in regards to the last 3 years that they've been in a position. And we were notified today that Deputy Chief Kevin Benson was re-credentialed as a chief officer for the city of Easthampton. It's a huge accomplishment. We also were fortunate back in the fall time, Captain Tom Rice, who at that time we pushed out as well, a press release, also was re-credentialed. And really when you look at these statewide recognitions, it really is a reflection of the people serving your community. You heard testimony tonight, and so glad that you're doing okay, both of you. But when you look at the first responders out there in the communities, having this tiered response with police, fire, and EMS on all these emergency calls, I can't express to you enough. I've been fortunate in my career to see a lot across the state, across the country for emergency services. The services here in Easthampton are absolutely exceptional with police, fire, and EMS. And I know I speak to that from a position as the chief, but I truly and sincerely mean that certainly this award from Deputy Chief Benson is significant and certainly a reflection of all emergency services in the city. So thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. And also, I just want to quickly acknowledge Detective Briggs. He was one of the first people on site when Mrs. Braun and Mr. Brown were dealing with the situation on Cottage Street, right? So certainly appreciate your service to the community. It is 6:15, so I will take a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
So I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. I will turn it over to Chair Jamrog McQuaid.
Thank you, Madam President. So the proposed amendment is to amend Chapter 7, Section 7-17A, Exhibit A, Classification of Employees, to add the position of a Public Safety Dispatch Director. This would be at wage range grade G, and it is based on the Exhibit B that you have in front of you. So this position would take the responsibility of supervising the dispatch off the shoulders of the police chief, was had a lot to manage. Is also funded by a grant for the first 3 years, as well as an intermunicipal dispatch agreement with Southampton. The City Council Ordinance Committee voted unanimously on 12/18 to recommend this passing, and yeah, I guess that's all the relevant information. I would ask the President if it would be appropriate to invite the Police Chief Alexander up to add more.
Chief Alexander, would you like to speak on this?
Good evening, councilors. Chad Alexander, Chief of the Police Department. Just very briefly, Councilor Jamrog McQuaid covered most of it. Once we regionalized between Easthampton Police and Fire and Southampton Police and Fire, a in-depth study was done by the Collins Center at UMass, where their top recommendation was a director of dispatch for a multitude of reasons. One being everything from controlling the budget and grant writing, which is currently done by myself, to simple things such as in the past few weeks, we've had a minor disciplinary issue, which instead of being handled by one person, looked into and handled, it was received by myself. I had to run it by each other chief, all 4 chiefs individually, pass it on to my internal affairs. It tied them up for a week or two to take care of what they had to do, report back to each chief individually, go over what, if any, discipline should happen, and it's really a roundabout way. We also, Human Resource Director Russo, talked to other area regionalizations such as Westcom answering service, and then also the Westfield Regional Dispatch Center, who is regionalized currently with Southwick, and that was #1 priority for them also. And then also going along with what Councilor Jamrog McQuaid had said, the fact that it's grant funded, we can apply for up to 3 fiscal years, and we're currently in our first fiscal year, so FY26, FY27, FY28, it would be covered, and we also receive a stipend or a fee essentially from Southampton, the town, for $175,000 a year, which would help offset the cost going forward.
Mm-hmm. Great. Do councilors have any questions for Chief Alexander? No? Okay.
You've answered a couple of my questions already, so I was just kind of double checking my notes here. But you mentioned a couple of other regionalizations already. I imagine that in some larger cities, this is a position that exists as well. It's not a regionalized system specific.
Correct, yeah, so most departments, I don't have specifics, so I know for around us, Northampton has their own and their own supervisor that oversees the department. Once you go out into the hill towns, those are all covered by the state police. We entered into a memorandum of understanding with the town of Southampton in January of 24, and it came together rather quickly. So it was kind of, not that it was an oversight, but it was something that, it was an emergency situation for them. But yes, all big departments, they're covered where that person will answer directly to the mayor. And the regional, they also all have a department head.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of spoke to this already, but just to add some further clarification. And so the dispatch currently exists under the police department's budget, essentially what I'm hearing is that the money that goes towards that work specifically will be separated out and become its own section.
So, yes and no. So dispatch does have its own budget, and luckily, by regionalizing, the state offers fantastic amounts of grant money, where a large portion of our salaries are covered under grants. So while it's prepared by the police department, it's its own separate section within the city budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Yep.
Chief Alexander, you mentioned the $175,000 fee or stipend, whatever you want to call it, from Southampton. And I'm curious, do you have an estimate of how, like what percentage or what portion of that fee will be allocated to this particular position going forward?
So on the face of it, no, and that'll be up to whoever, if the position is accepted, whoever the department head is will seek that avenue and spend that money as they see fit. Part of regionalizing was the state 911 department offered a part of their grant, their development grant program, it's called. There's a couple separate different ones, but as far as the development grant, which is for departments that regionalize, we're allowed to apply for a grant to cover Southampton's costs, which phases out over 5 years. So the first 2 fiscal years, because we're currently in the second fiscal year, was covered entirely by the state. Year 3, I believe it drops to 75%, and then 50, and then I believe 25, and then our 6th year going forward, Southampton's responsible for that total amount, but that money is for dispatch to supplement their budget as they see fit.
Thank you for clarifying.
Councilor Schmidt?
And so at the end of the current MOA with Southampton, is that going to be revisited? Is that an opportunity to look at kind of the amount that they're paying for this?
So currently there is no end date in the contract.
Okay.
The contract is going forward. That's what's set. It's a 10-page document. I believe it's available right on, I think you can get it right on the police department's website, that the agreement we entered into, there's certain parameters where if they decide that they want to stop paying, that we can sever ties. That would not be wise. It's a public safety. They're the first person you get when you're looking for help. But there is no end date. But it is something that can be looked at in the future.
So to follow up on that, I guess I was just curious if there's a plan to kind of look at that amount again in the future, just expecting, costs to rise, and, recognizing that that amount might not cover it in the future.
Sure. I would assume that if the position goes forward, I know if I was to stay in charge of it, it'd be something we'd look at down the road as budgets increase and as grant funding. We don't know what's going to happen year to year with grant funding. It all depends. It starts at the top at the federal government. We've been lucky thus far, but that is definitely something that can be looked at and readdressed and open the MOU.
Councilor Newton?
So does this position, do you already have someone who's doing a similar position that will move into this position, or is it going to be, how is it going to be chosen or hired or?
Yeah, so currently it's all an extra duty for myself. I oversee, there is a supervisor within dispatch that handles kind of the day-to-day operations, but as far as everything else, it all falls under me, and then I report to the mayor. So the position would be posted any other way, any new job would be posted. I know HR, I believe Director Russo is at another engagement. She may be able to speak more to it as to where she would
She's here.
put this out to. I don't know if you want her to chime in. She really does kind of puts the blasts out for accepting applications.
I can speak to that.
Yeah,
So
Director
we would
Russo.
follow the city charter process for hiring. So we'd post the position. We welcome internal applicants. Anyone who would apply internally would probably be from the dispatch department, which is unionized. So this is a non-unionized position. So we would go through the typical hiring process, probably select a panel, probably people from fire, police, and from the city to participate in that process to find the best candidate.
Other questions? Councilor Markey?
I believe I read the letter that the HR director sent out. Would this person be reporting directly to the mayor, or yes?
Correct. Yep, directly to the mayor.
That's it.
Obviously, they'd work closely with all 4 department heads, both police departments, both fire, but they would answer directly to the mayor.
Other questions? Director, so I actually have a question for you. I'm looking at the education and experience section, and it's the first one is bachelor's degree. The second is minimum of 5 years of progressively responsible experience. And then the third one is equivalent combination of education and experience may be considered. I know that 60 to 70% of people who work in dispatch are women. And a lot of women started in this career in the 1990s, 2000, and that was really a period of time when this was kind of a new field or a new industry, et cetera. So there might be individuals who have 25 years of experience, right, or 30 years of experience, but they don't have a bachelor's degree, right, because they didn't offer degrees at that time for this, right? So, you know, emergency management, you know, 911 response, et cetera, those weren't fields that had degrees. So when I look at equivalent combination of education, does that include bachelor's degree, or does that really just go to experience?
So the beauty of that clause at the end of the experience and education requirements is it gives us the flexibility to hire people who would be capable of doing the job, even though that they don't have a bachelor's degree. If you have someone who has 25 years of experience in dispatch and has management or something in some other realm, like those combined skills, I would say are probably more powerful than having a degree, or at least equivalent to having a degree. So we always consider all factors in someone's education and experience when we're making a decision for interviewing and for hiring. We do not need them to have a degree. It is a suggestion and a desired trait, but if someone has experience and has the management abilities, we will gladly consider those things equally to a degree.
Great. Other questions? Great, thank you, Director Russo and Chief Alexander.
Thank you.
Chair Jamrock McQuaid, I will take a motion.
Sure. I will move to amend Chapter 7, Section 7-17A, Exhibit A, classification of employees.
Actually, stop. Sorry, I made a mistake. Anyone from the public who wants to speak on this? I didn't see anybody like looking like they wanted to say anything, so anything. Anyone online? Anyone online want to speak to this? Okay, all right, I apologize. Please continue.
All right. I will move to amend Chapter 7, Section 7-17A, Exhibit A, classification of employees to add the position of Public Safety Dispatch Director.
Second.
Great, so I have a motion and a second to amend Chapter 7, Sections 7-17A, Exhibit A, classification of employees to add the position of Public Safety Dispatch Director. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Great, motion passes. I will take a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Great, motion passes. Great. We have no items for immediate attention, no communication from elected officials. We've heard from correspondence. President and Vice President Communications, Vice President Jadzik, do you have any announcements?
I do. Thank you, President Denham. Just as a quick reminder for counselors here tonight, we do have the Connect 351 conference coming up starting tomorrow. So if anyone still would wish to register, you are still able to. So please feel free to do so. Please contact myself and or Marianne if you have any questions about the reimbursement for that. Secondly, the 9/11 Memorial Committee is holding a listening session on Monday, January 26th at 6 p.m. at the Council on Aging. And so if you have any ideas for that memorial any thoughts, any comments, any concerns, you are welcome to attend in person. If you're not able to attend in person, you can also email any thoughts, questions, concerns, comments to Dylan Maxfield at dmaxfield@easthamptonma.gov. Finally, I'd like to just do a quick report out for the Municipal Leadership Program. We have several people here in the room tonight who are part of that program, and I know we have some past participants as well. We've had 2 sessions already. Last week, we visited the schools and had a really great discussion there. The first session was City Council, the Mayor, and Finance. And we have about 12 attendees in that program, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is the most attendees we've had so far in all the iterations we've run at this point. So it's going well, and we have a few more sessions coming up. So once again, thank you to all the city employees who are participating and helping out, and thank you to everyone who is participating. If you are listening right now and you did not know about this and you're sad that you missed it, we will most likely be running another session next year, so keep an eye out for that. And that's all I have to offer.
Great, thank you so much. And next week we'll be with the fire department, so looking forward to that. Mayor's communication.
Good evening, councilors. So I wanted to take a moment to introduce my new office manager. His name is Evan LeBeau. I think most of you have probably met Evan already. It's really great having Evan on board. And I just want to give him a shout out for, transitioning into the office really seamlessly. The reception he's gotten at City Hall has been just awesome. And he is just a great addition to our team. So if you have a chance, welcome him. If you're looking to set up a meeting with me, now I have a point person to make sure I don't forget our meeting. And that's in the books. So, and I will just say, I have a couple brief updates. So exciting thing happened today. I was invited to the Mountain View School. I got to be in front of a classroom again. So it was nice to return. And this classroom was quite a big classroom. I actually got to present to the entire 8th grade as part of their civics program. And it was great. We had such a great response from the kids, started to get them excited about the We the People program. And they had some really thoughtful questions and were really excited to learn about city government and how the whole process works. So it was tons of fun. That's why I'm dressed up. And at City Hall, we're doing a lot of work around budgeting and finance. So, right now I'm starting to have preliminary meetings with department heads and talking budget. And we are still in the thick of it because we have our external auditor was here all week and will be here all next week as well, which is a normal process that we go through every year where we have an outside auditor look at our expenses to make sure everything is in order. And so far, no problems. So that's always good news. Another thing that I think it's exciting, so hopefully I'll see some of you at the Connect 351 conference, the Mass Municipal Association, which starts tomorrow. There's some really great workshops, some really great opportunities for networking. I was lucky enough to be invited to the State of the Commonwealth tomorrow night. And so, as I go out for the Connect 351, I've already talked to Lieutenant Governor Driscoll. I'm trying to get some FaceTime around advocating for the release of affordable housing funds in a more efficient manner. So that's one of the topics that every time I've talked to her, we talk about, and I continue. I'm lucky enough also to be able to meet with our federal delegation. So I'm going to be talking to Senator Warren and Senator Markey about some of the things that are going on in Easthampton, and hopefully seeing if we can try to find some earmarks that might be appropriate for us in the future. So those are exciting opportunities for the city, I think, and I'll do my best to represent us in the best way possible. As far as local stuff, I just want to say we've gotten some complaints around the use of the pond. And so one of the things that I'm trying to be proactive around this is, coordinating with police, with fire, with public health, and with the National Wanted Pond Committee to talk about the winter use of the pond. This is an amazing resource that we have right here in our backyard. It abuts Nonotuck Park. It's beautiful. And it should be used all year round. I'm a firm believer of that, but I think, we need to sometimes set parameters for use in order for people to use things within reason and in an acceptable way. Some of the things that we've been hearing is that some of the trash is being left on the pond, that some of the holes that are being used for ice fishing aren't getting filled back in, which is creating a potential hazard, and that people are having bonfires directly on the ice, which is not best practice for ice fishing. So my office is currently working with the relevant parties and the invested parties to draw up some, basic guidelines, because we don't have signs out there yet that say, use the pond at your own risk and beware of thin ice and those types of things, which, is a reasonable thing to expect to have when you have a pond in your backyard. And also setting some, really basic guidelines that are kind of industry-wide accepted best practices. So filling in ice fishing holes so people don't trip through them. Maybe even having, areas where people are ice skating, not ice fishing there, and those types of things. So that's something my office is working on. And I will finish with saying that as we have the storm that is bearing down on us and the extremely cold weather, I want to appreciate our public safety team, and Evan was instrumental in this as well, and our public health for letting people know that we do have a warming shelter over at the public safety complex. But one thing I would like to add to that is always open as a safe space. So if it's cold and you don't have a place to go and we didn't issue a press release, it's still open as a warming center. So those doors don't get locked. So I just wanted to make sure that people knew that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Derby. I've never thought of having a bonfire on a frozen pond as best practice. I think that's just dangerous, right? So great. Thank you so much. Council communications, we have an announcement from Councilor Jamrog McQuaid.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to remind everyone in the community that the Easthampton Tenants Union meets just in the room right behind us here every Thursday from 5 to 6:30. They share resources for tenants, specifically around what rights they have and building solidarity and power in numbers. I will say this week, I am pretty sure a representative from the health department is giving a presentation on the resources available through them. So that'll be great. And I hope to see as many people as possible there.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Councilor. Chair Peak, Finance.
Great. Thank you, Madam President.
Mr.
I'm going to, I got over with that a couple times in the different direction, but thank you, Madam President. So we met last week to discuss a proposal from our city clerk to increase the vital statistics fee in the office of the city clerk. So this is something that is done periodically. Those of you who were here last term might remember that we went through and looked at a lot of sort of fines and whatever that had been established in the 80s, and there was an amount that made sense at the time, and it hadn't changed in some time. In our case, it's what our city clerk is proposing would be an increase from $10 per certified copy to $15 per certified copy. And one reason why she's proposing this is that given how many babies are born in Northampton and just how much sort of traffic there is between here and Northampton, it's generally been the opinion of the clerk's office that it's good to keep those fees aligned so that we're charging the same amount as Northampton, since a lot of people could go theoretically to both. And so they're at 15 right now. We have not raised our fees in, Mary, can you remind me of the number of years?
Since 2005.
So it's been 20 years since we've raised our fees. And so, and there's a good deal of these that come through. So even though it's only $5, it would add up to a few thousand extra dollars coming in every year that could help cover other costs in the city clerk's office, where there's a lot of processes where the fee might be kind of low, but the actual hours of labor putting in can often quite exceed that. So for that reason, It seemed like a reasonable thing to do. We haven't increased it in some time, and it's a fairly modest increase. But I think it is good for us to be checking in on these other fees and fines periodically to make sure that they don't just get totally swept away by inflation. So we voted 3-0 to increase the vital statistics fee from $10 to $15 an hour, and that will be the motion that I'm prepared to make, but if there's any questions, of course, I'd be happy to.
So just to be clear, you said $10 to $15 an hour?
Oh, sorry, per certified copy is
Okay,
what I
great.
meant.
Just want to make sure.
No, yes, per certified copy.
Do counselors have questions? All right, I will take a motion.
Okay. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 22F, I move that the vital statistics fee for birth, marriage, and death certificates in the office of the city clerk be increased from $10 per certified copy to $15 per certified copy, effective February 1st, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to increase the vital statistics fee from $10 to $15. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Great, motion passes.
Okay, great. And then the only thing we're going to be meeting, I see there's some new business, so the plan will be to meet at our regular time, 5:30 on Wednesday, so a week from today, conference room 1.
Great.
And thus concludes.
Great. I do have a question. At our meeting in December, we had talked about setting a public hearing for the first meeting in February regarding adoption of Chapter 329 of the Acts of 1987. Are we still having a public hearing for that? Or what are we doing?
Well, yes. Would it be possible that we could potentially push that back a meeting? Or would that be a huge conflict with anything else? There's just a little bit of conversation I want to have with the mayor and just need to make sure that all lines up.
Yeah, so I think we can, do you want to set a public hearing?
Sure.
Councilor Marquis, do you have a question?
I believe there was another.
We talked about the short-term rental.
That's it, okay.
Being then, but that is also going to have to be pushed back because we've made progress. But that will be at a later report out, so that will not happen on then. So it is possible that there won't be a conflict on that.
Okay, great. In that case, I would make a motion to set a public hearing for the city council action request to adopt Chapter 329 of the Acts of 1987 for
February 4th?
February, well, so we were talking about
18th.
February
Oh,
18th
Right.
at 6:15 in these chambers.
Second. So I have a motion and a second to set a public hearing to adopt Chapter 329 of the Acts of 1987 for February 18th. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. So that will be in these chambers, 6:15 on February 18th.
Thank you.
And that's concludes. All right, great. Next, public safety.
Okay, so.
Chair Newton.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Madam President. So we met on January 13th to discuss Chief Norris's hazard mitigation plan and the resolution for the city of Easthampton to adopt the hazard mitigation plan. So this hazard mitigation plan is basically a renewal of the one that we already have in place. There's a few small things that have changed, such as our schools are no longer, Maple, Pepin, those guys. We've got Mountain View, so the new shelter for emergencies will be at Mountain View School, but most of the language in there has not changed and remains the same as 2018 when it was last passed. So the committee did vote unanimously to pass this. I will say, so this helps us with making sure that we get FEMA funding. So if we were not to pass this, we would potentially lose funding that we are eligible for otherwise. It doesn't have anything to do with getting special grants or whatnot, but it does allow us to continue to be eligible for FEMA funding as we have been. So to remain status quo, continuing the same. So we voted unanimously to pass it. So should I read it in a motion or should I ask if we have comments?
Or do any councilors have questions?
No question, but I'll make a comment real quick if I can.
Sure.
Just wanted to note that, this is, as Councilor Newton noted, in a way related to funding, and it's really just one piece of a much larger puzzle in terms of the city's approach to preparing for potential emergencies that might face us. And so the chief was very generous with his time and willingness to answer questions and talk about that bigger picture as well. And so I just wanted to, for the folks who read through it, note that if there's anything that you feel like might be missing from this, that it may very well be in other pieces, and there's definitely collaboration happening between our community and surrounding communities beyond what you see here.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you, Councilor Schmidt. Other questions, comments? No? Right, so I will take a motion.
Okay, so I will read this as a motion. So this is a resolution of the City of Easthampton, Mass. Adopting the Hazard Mitigation Plan. Whereas the Easthampton City Council recognizes the threat that natural hazards pose to people and property within the City of Easthampton, Mass. And whereas the City of Easthampton has prepared a hazard mitigation plan, hereby known as City of Easthampton Hazard Mitigation Plan, in accordance with federal laws, including the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act, as amended, the National Flood Insurance Act of 1968, as amended, and the National Dam Safety Program Act, as amended. And whereas the City of Easthampton Hazard Mitigation Plan 2025 identifies mitigation goals and actions to reduce or eliminate long-term risk to people and property in Easthampton from the impacts of future hazards and disasters. And whereas adoption by the Easthampton City Council demonstrates its commitment to hazard mitigation and achieving the goals outlined in the City of Easthampton Hazard Mitigation Plan 2025. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Easthampton, Mass. That the Easthampton City Council adopts the City of Easthampton Hazard Mitigation Plan 2025. While content related to Easthampton may require revisions to meet the plan approval requirements, changes occurring after adoption will not require Easthampton to re-adopt any further iterations of the plan. Subsequent plan updates following the approval period for this plan will require separate adoption resolutions.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Great, motion passes.
So then there were some other things. So we also met to talk about setting up quarterly reporting from all of the different public safety departments. So that would be fire and EMS would meet with us together, police would meet with us, and then DPW would also meet. So we were able to set up a basic schedule, and we will have public safety visiting us. No, sorry, that's us. Excuse me. We will have the police department Chief Alexander visiting us on our next meeting, which is February 3rd at 6 p.m. in Conference 1. And he will be giving a quarterly report of the updates that have been, what's been going on in the police department. And then he will visit again 3 months later. So we will see police, and then we will see DPW, and then we will see fire, and then it will continue to rotate like that on a monthly basis. So we set that up, and then the other thing that we talked about was the reviewing the traffic rules and order. So the language of the traffic rules and orders. We are going to be talking about it, starting to kind of work through some of that. on February 3rd as well. But I do think we need a 90-day extension for that. If we can we ask for that now?
Sure. Do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for a 90-day extension to review the language in the traffic rules and orders.
Second.
Great, so we have a motion and a second to extend the review of language in the traffic rules and orders by 90 days. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great, motion passes.
And as Jonathan said, Chief Norris was with us for the meeting, and he was able to answer a lot of really good questions. So we got a lot from that. And then we're excited to get more from the Chief of Police next month.
Great. Just a quick question.
Yes.
When you think about the various public safety departments, have you thought about also connecting with the health department?
Yes, we actually have talked about connecting with the health department, and we've talked about how that would require us to also think about adjusting our schedule. So we are on it. But for now, we've got the other 3/4 departments in line. But yes.
Perfect. Great. Is that everything?
I think that concludes public safety.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair Newton. Appointments. Chair Smith.
Thank you, President Dunn. We met last time on January 13th, 2026 at 5 o'clock at night. And we had a few different reappointments and appointments that we considered as part of the meeting. Before I start that, though, we had an issue with appointees not being able to find the conference room. And so I would just, this room behind us, I don't feel is very well lit, especially if someone is coming in the evening. And the appointee who was coming forth, seeing that this was kind of a darkened room and not sure if this was where the meeting room was, didn't actually get to the conference room. And so I really think that some new signage is due at the stairs that just clearly states conference room is behind the council benches. So that was my first concern that I just wanted to bring up, that we had that problem with some of the appointees. So I have two appointees that we approved, although they weren't at the meeting, and this includes the appointee that could not find the meeting room. We had one appointee who is here tonight to be sworn in, and then we had one appointee that we decided to wait until our next meeting to be able to confirm. And so at this time, I would like to introduce Carl Prahl to the city of Easthampton. He is, let me think of how I want to put this. Our committee voted 3-0 to appoint Mr. Prahl to the Housing Authority. And so I'd like to read a few things from his application that really stood out to the committee as really important. So I just want to point out that Mr. Prahl is a farmer and a small business owner in the city of Easthampton. This is really important because in a small city with a lot of small businesses also comes a lot of families who are really dependent on those businesses succeeding, and trying to coordinate both the business in good times and in bad times, and leaning that against how much you're having to pay for rent is really a difficult situation in Easthampton right now. And so he says, and I quote, "As a small business owner, I understand the realities of rising costs in a competitive world and the difficulty in finding balance. As a farmer, I recognize the need for solutions that work for the coming decades and not just the coming months." He states that he would like to be part of finding solutions to keep our public housing available to seniors and to low-income residents, to keep the buildings well-maintained, and to help the entire system run smoothly in Easthampton now and into the future. And so I just wanted to make sure that as you're getting sworn in tonight, Mr. Prowl, that we at least had an introduction to why you wanted to take this role on and just talk about the accolades that you wrote about. And so at this time, we'll have you approach the bench and we'll have our city clerk.
We need to have a motion.
Oh, let me make a motion first. All right. I would like to make a motion to accept Carl Prowl into the position of being on the Housing Authority Board for a term expiration of 12/31/2031.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Carl Prowl to the Housing Authority. Any further discussion? Councillor Markey?
I just wanted to say that I've gotten to know Carl on the campaign trail a little bit, running up to this election. Carl ran for city council. He would have been a great city council if he had been elected, and that I am very happy to see Carl Prowl staying engaged with the community, and yeah, that's it.
Other discussion? Councilor Jamrock McQuaid?
Thank you. I just want to echo the comments that Councilor Markey made. I think that we're really lucky as a city to have as engaged volunteers as Mr. Prowl here.
Any further comment, discussion? So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor to appoint Carl Prowl to the Housing Authority? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Great, motion passes. Marianne, would you like to swear in Mr. Prowl?
Do you swear or affirm to perform the duties as a member of the Easthampton Housing Authority to the best of your ability?
Bravo, congratulations. Councilor Smith.
Okay, and
Chair Smith.
we decided to move forward two other names on our list for consideration from the full council. And so the first one is Michelle Savax for the Parks and Recreation Commission with a term expiration of 12/31. And the next one is Mary Church, who is also for the Housing Authority. She is actually moving to the EHA resident appointment rather than as a voting appointment. And I promise Ms. Church that in our next full city council meeting, she also will have the opportunity to be sworn in before the board, before the council.
Good.
Do
you want to make a motion?
Councilor Peak.
Oh, Councilor Peak.
Just one point of clarification. My understanding is that the resident is a voting member.
Oh.
It's just that there's a seat that's assigned for a resident. That seat was occupied at the point that Ms. Church joined the board, and so there was a vacancy that was specifically for a resident, and she was holding an all-purpose seat that anyone could take. So she thought it was wise to swap over to the resident-specific seat so that anyone could apply for the other seat, and then Carl did apply for that seat. So.
Okay, appreciate that clarification. Thank you. So I would like to also move Mary Church's name for the consideration from the full council with a term expiration of 12/31/31 with the understanding that we'll also invite her for the next full city council meeting.
Second. So we have a motion and a second to approve two mayoral appointments. All those any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Okay, and the last item is that our committee is really looking right now at our current order of ways we do mayoral appointments and the whole process. So we're continuing that conversation at a committee level, and our next appointment subcommittee will be on Tuesday, 127 at 5 p.m. in Conference Room 2.
What was the time again, sorry?
5 p.m.
Great.
Point of clarification, was there a third person we needed to vote on that we?
There was one you were not putting forward tonight?
Yeah, there was one that I wasn't putting forward.
Oh, okay, I
so
thought there was.
I had mentioned Michelle Savox and Mary Church together, and we had already done Carl Prawl.
Okay, yeah, the box, I think I overlooked that was included in that motion, sorry.
Okay. We're good?
Is that everything?
Nope, that's everything,
Okay.
President Dunham.
All right, Chair Jamrock McQuaid for ordinance.
Thank you, Madam President. So Ordinance Committee last met last night, January 20th. We further discussed the general ordinance amendments related to the short-term rentals, particularly related to the fire safety requirements from the concerns from the fire department and building commissioner. Overall, we made progress. We seem to be on the same page on the content of what's going to be put forward. The acceptable alternative was made clear that a wireless monitor detection system is an acceptable alternative except for cases where you have an attached garage because they're only good above freezing temperatures. To move forward, we just need to finish drafting the specific language. So I'm going to meet with the planning director, building commissioner, and Captain Constantine to iron that out. And then I will request that we have it sent to the solicitor for final approval through you, through the president. The goal is to have this ready for an ordinance committee meeting at the second half of February. And we're likely to meet twice in February. I'm also planning to help with the building and fire department info sheet for STR hosts, including a flow chart that sort of better communicates the applicable regulations depending on like owner occupancy, number of days rented out, et cetera. So the next meeting, we still need to schedule for the first half of February to address some of those other items on our docket. And then we also need to schedule the joint public hearing with the planning board regarding the housing partnership recommendations, sections 1 through 4. I will try to have those dates ironed out in the next week and let everyone know. This concludes.
Great, thank you, Chair Jamrock McQuaid. Property, Chair Kwasinski.
The Property Committee will be meeting on Thursday, February 5th at 6 p.m., Thursday, February 5th at 6 p.m. And we'll have on the agenda at that time the discussion of 75 Oliver Street, the former Easthampton Town Lodging, which has served the city for over 100 years, and the possible disposition of that property, the disposal of the structure, and the 54 acres that surrounds the property. It has been farmed for most of that time and was a refuge for people to stay or go to should they be facing hard times until the late probably around 2018, 2019 is when the doors were shuttered approximately. Since that time, it has remained vacant. It has been difficult to maintain, and our hope is to be able to come up with the terms of sale for that property as such that we, as a city council, then can propose to the mayor those terms for the sale, any restrictions that we had in mind for the property, and then the mayor has to concur in order for the process to proceed. It is a joint process between the mayor and the city council. So we're hoping to discuss that at that time.
Thank you.
This concludes property.
Great. And Chair Kwasinski, right back at you for rules and government relations.
No report this evening, but we will be meeting shortly.
Great. So we have no old business, new business. Vice President Jadzik.
Yes, for new business, first item is a city council action request for 2 new appointments. I'll read these out in the form of a motion to move these to the appointment subcommittee. First appointment is for Tamara Smith to be appointed to the Bees Committee as a city council rep with a term of January 2026 through December 31st, 2028. Second appointment is for Carl Saylor to be appointed to the Rent Study Committee with a term of January 2026 through December 31st, 2028.
So we have a motion, okay. We have a motion and a second to send two city council appointments to the appointments committee. Any further discussion? Yep, Chair Jan McQuaid.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. So the rent study committee I'm also the chair of that committee. When we formed the committee, none of those initial applicants were put through the appointments process, if I'm remembering correctly. I guess I'm just confused. I didn't know that all future applicants would need to go through the process. Is there?
They were, I guess, yes.
That is correct. So, interesting point. I would say the rent study committee is a city council committee, so it was put together by the then city council president. So I am actually not sure if future appointees need to go through our appointment process.
Good point. Councilor Kwasinski?
As the rules person, I would say that it was when we decided, it was an appointment of the president. So it is a president's appointment and prerogative to make this determination without necessarily going through the appointments committee. I personally am pleased that we have the opportunity to go through the appointments committee and would have no objection to that process.
Okay. I do know that when I was also appointed by the president for the Bees Committee, but I went through the appointments process, if I'm not mistaken, so that's why, yeah?
It just happened to be the way it was formed.
Yeah, okay.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
This is something that I have experienced that it's pretty rare for us to do these council committees, but I've seen a few of them over my years, and there's never been a consistent standard. There was one time in 2018, I believe, 2019, where there were some appointments made, presidential appointments made, and there were some disagreements within the council about the appointments that were made, and there was a thought that we wanted to have, the rest of the council wanted to have more of a say on that, but I don't believe there's anything in our rules specifically requiring that. And so that might be an interesting topic for down the line, but I think for now it's kind of however you as the president want to play it is how it is going to go.
Councilor Kwasinski?
It really has to do with when they're ad hoc committees and they're established by the council. It depends on how that committee writes the recommendation. And so each time it would be up to the council to vote and decide whether or not they would have this be a council appointment or a president's appointment. And we did so with regard to the Rent Study Committee to make it a presidential appointment. So we have that prerogative anytime we want to establish an ad hoc committee.
Yep. Okay, so for consistency's sake, can we remove the motion for Carl Saylor?
Point of clarification. Should we also remove the motion for Tamara Smith, because while the Bees Committee is not an ad hoc city council committee, the position is a specific ex officio seat that is appointed pending re-election by the city council president. So I'm wondering if we should remove the motion for both of those appointees.
Well, if I understand correctly, as president, I would have the ability to appoint Tamara Smith, so I don't know that we would have to remove both motions, because I would just make a motion.
Well, the motion is to send it to appointments committee, but if you're appointing Councilor Smith, then does it need to go through appointments subcommittee?
So that was my question. So when I ran for the Bees Committee and was appointed by the former president of the council, I did have to go to the appointments committee, but I think that was part of what was written in the expectation of the committee.
Well, so as part of our subcommittee work, I've actually been digging into this, and so I'm looking at the purview right now, and that's not something that's been listed out, so to my knowledge, but I would definitely defer to Councilor Smith, who's been on the appointment subcommittee longer than I have.
I think in the case of transparency, we should have the appointees come to the appointment subcommittee to be able to at least introduce themselves and explain why this is something that they're interested in.
I would, I would concur with Councilor Smith for this.
Councilor Markey?
Yeah, I also agree with Councilor Smith on this. Even if there is no vote necessarily coming out of the appointments committee, I still think that for transparency and to get to know folks, I think that it's best if things do go through appointments, even if there is no motion moved out of appointments committee to the full board, and therefore there's no full vote, full board, full city council vote. I do think for transparency, I agree with Councilor Smith.
Councilor Newton?
One thing I wonder about is I think I was at the meeting, the tenants meeting, when Carl Saylor had kind of talked about and learned about the committee. And one of the things I kind of worry about is having to go through the appointments committee. Like, is that a step that will possibly deter people from taking on this position? Because it did seem like at the meeting that a lot of other tenants were kind of reluctant to take on that role, and I just worry that it may feel like, I don't know.
I'd like to speak to that.
Chair Smith?
I think one of the things that we have as a committee is that we don't videotape those particular meetings, because if there were someone's work stuff, and it's just a different process than the rest. So in that respect, we're just asking them to come to our meeting to introduce themselves to us, and I think that should be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I did inform Carl Saylor that as part of the process, they would go through the appointments process. So he seemed open to that. Other further discussion. Councilor Jamrock McQuaid?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that I think it makes sense with transparency. I think my one concern, and I think that this might just be something that we need to express to the people on the rent study committee already, or to future people, that it was just a little bit of an oversight. I just worry about disparate treatment of different people, and like what that means if, you know, we have a landlord and a developer on the committee already that didn't have to go through this process, and now we're asking tenants to go through this process. So I worry about that disparity, and I want to just be really mindful of that.
Sure. And I take full responsibility. I was appointed to that as a city councilor, and so I obviously didn't go through the appointments process, and so made that, I couldn't remember because there was a lot of transition during that during that process. But I do have a concern that I'm wondering, and this is just a process, if there's no technical process, is it just not having a motion, but you just invite them in? Like, I'm trying to kind of understand, because there's no actual process, so.
That might be seen as a little less intimidating to be invited in to meet your city councilors versus you've got one more hoop to jump. So, yeah.
And it's also not coming back to council technically, other than perhaps a report out, but yeah.
Just wanted to
Councilor Kwasinski? Comment
to Councilor Jamrock McQuaid that there was an effort on, this happened during transition, and President Derby had made the initial appointments, and then I took over, and we both worked together to try to establish a committee that had representation of both landlords and tenants. And so there was an effort to attempt to balance the committee so that we could get all interests onto the committee. And I don't know Carl Saylor, so I'm curious what his background is, or the person's background. So I would like to look forward to that during the appointments time, and to assure that there be an effort to see that we continue that process.
Sure.
To have an establishment of a committee that isn't any one-sided.
Right, sure. No, I appreciate it. We're fading into discussion about the appointees and not the motion of sending it to committee, so I just want to be.
I was just responding to Councilor Jamrock McQuaid.
Yeah, no, I understand that. That's why I'm saying we're drifting here, so I want to get us back to the motion itself. So, Vice President Jadzik.
So I'd like to, I'm not going to say this in the form of rescinding quite just yet, but I'd like to propose that I rescind my motion eventually, but I'd also like to propose, and I don't think this needs to be in the form of a motion per se, but perhaps in our next meeting, we can add to our agenda for the appointment subcommittee, a discussion around codifying some of the process around city council created committees versus mayoral committees, because there is a difference, obviously, as we've been discussing tonight. And I think there are some opportunities to at least discuss how we might want to handle this in the future. Sure. And then one final point, just to clarify with what was just being said by Councilor Kuzinski, just so the public knows too, with the rent study committee, there are specific roles that are outlined for that committee. So it cannot be overbalanced in favor of one group or another by nature of how that committee has been set up through the initial resolution that was passed. So while there are some landlords and developers on the committee right now, this appointee, however it comes about, will help to actually rebalance, because right now we've lost someone who represented a tenant and we're trying to replace that role on the committee. So with that being said, I don't know if there's any other discussions or questions, but I would be.
Further discussion? Councilor?
Yeah. I do just want to say that after hearing especially what Councilor Jamrock McQuaid said, I do kind of feel strongly about the fact that it doesn't seem equitable for the landlords to be able to get on without having to go to the appointments, but then there's this additional barrier for the tenant when, the tenant is really putting themselves out there.
Sure. Yep. Again, so we're on the motion, yes.
I'd just like to speak to the comment.
Well, we have to say we're on the motion is to move it, not the discussion of the makeup of the committee, et cetera. So I understand what was said.
I just would like a point of clarification.
Yeah.
No one who was appointed to the committee went through any process. So everyone who was currently serving went through a process of appointment per se.
Right. So again, we're staying on the motion of sending this to the committee. So I just want us to stay focused on that. So
I would like to rescind my previous motion to send these two appointments to the appointment subcommittee.
Was there a second to that?
Second.
There was who was the second?
I second.
Okay, so can you rescind your second?
I wasn't the second on the original.
No,
Probably was.
Oh, okay. So
I will rescind my second.
Okay, great. And now you're rescinding. I just want to make sure we're all in line here. Okay, so since these are appointments, that are approved or sent by the president, there is no need to send them to committee, but the committee has the opportunity to reach out. And I look forward at the next meeting getting an item that we can address this.
Okay.
Question? And then the next item.
Yes, we have two more items. So the next item is a city council, actually, I'll read this out in the form of a motion to send this to the rules subcommittee. So the city council action request to amend Rule 11A to the meeting agendas and amend Rule 11L, filing of meeting minutes.
Second. So we have a motion and a second to amend Rule 11A to meeting agenda and amend Rule 11L related to meeting minutes. Any further discussion?
And sorry, point of clarification. The motion is to send it to Rules Committee?
Yes. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
All right, and for the final item, I'm actually going to turn this over to Councilor Peak.
I will make this the following first reading in the form of a motion to send it to, so the motion I will be making is to send this to appointments and to set a public hearing for this item at our February 4th, set of finance, so that's it, yeah. And to set a public hearing for this for February, is it February 4th?
Correct.
February 4th meeting at 6:15 in these chambers. Request is hereby made for approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested, $23,500 to be appropriated from Fund Balance Reserve for Open Space, $23,500 to be appropriated to Dog Park Design, $23,500. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose. The funding would be used to complete a construction bid-ready design of the Easthampton Dog Park.
Second. I have a motion and a second to send the following appropriation, amount requested $23,500 to be appropriated from Fund Balance Reserve for Open Space to be appropriated to Dog Park Design. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Actually, I'm gonna step back. So also to set a public hearing for February 4th, 6:15 in these chambers. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Great. We have no other items on.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. We have a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Great. Motion passes.
You're so bad.